Hi, I'm Cheryl, and we're going to be making a beautiful peacock card today. Now, before I even start, full disclaimer, this is not Stampin' Up's peacock. I've tried to order the peacock, the Royal Peacock bundle several times now, and I guess they just can't keep them in stock because I haven't been able to get it. So I found this. It's a knockoff and it's much smaller. I'll put a link to where I found it over on my blog page, but let's see. I'll show you the difference in size. Where's the peacock stamp? Okay. This is from the catalog. And here's a little tip you may not have known. Unless it says otherwise in the catalog, that is the actual size of the stamp. So you can see there's quite a bit of a difference here. If you managed to get the peacock, you could certainly use this instead of my small one, but my small one actually, I believe, fits on my card a little bit better. But yeah. So anyway, that's where we are. They just didn't want to send me one, so I found one that was similar, and I still want to get this one because I think these two would be a nice complement to each other. And quite frankly, the quality just isn't there on these. I'll show you my little set here. The stamps are very inexpensively made. The dies, the feather die is, you can't get a feather from it. It's just a big blob shape. To cut out the peacock, the one that's Stampin' Up, it's all open in here so you can actually see where you're lining up. So it's yeah, it's okay in a pinch. It's not terribly expensive, but I still want my Stampin' Up one. So we will continue on. Now that I had my little I don't know what you want to call it, my little breakdown. Okay, so now this is a 5x7 card we're making, so you need a piece of Whisper White, and I like the thick Whisper White for my card base. Is going to be 7 by 10, scored and folded at 5 inches. We need another piece from the front. We're gonna make our beautiful background here on this one, and that you need it to be 4 1/4 by 7 inches. There's another piece here somewhere. There it is. And this one is 4 by 6, and that's going to go on the inside of our card. We're going to sponge the edges of that and make it look oh so beautiful. You see there. I don't have a sentiment on here. I didn't even tape this one down. But I'll just put this in here with some repositionable tape, and when I know what I want to use the card for, then I'll stamp it and permanently attach it to the card. Okay, so moving on. Then I have a nice little strip here. This is pattern paper. If you don't have pattern paper, you could just use, like soft sea foam or the purple pose, the new purple posy, and just have a plain background, or you could embellish it yourself a little bit. Stamp it lightly with whatever, or stamp it. You could stamp it with your with a Versamark ink and have a little something going on. But anyway, this is from Heartfelt Creations, Classic Petunia. And it was from a big piece like this. And I've cut this strip and the one on my sample card from like this. And there's a reason I cut it this way. And that's because now these two pieces here will be suitable all on their own for cards, you see. So I could make a card like this, I could make a card like this, except then all my printing has gone the wrong way. Well, I could do it like that, because you can't really tell if it's right side up or upside down. But I cut these strips from the middle because I want a little band of these petunias. And now these two pieces are usable also. So that's that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. This is 1.5 inches wide by 7 inches. Then I have a piece of basic black that will be behind this, and this is 2 inches by 7 inches. And then I have a tiny little strip of the basic black. This is 1/4 inch wide by 7 inches long. I have some white shimmer paper, and I have some scraps of white here. This we'll use for our sentiment on the front, our little greeting on the front. And then this piece here is big enough that I can stamp my peacock on it. So I'm using up scraps, and you should be too. I'll be using the layering oval framelits. I'm using the largest one and the third from the largest oval. And Darice makes this cutting die, and it's called Geometric Background. So I've made myself a stencil just out of the lighter weight cardstock, and I will keep that forever because I'll be able to use that over and over again. Okay, be using some of the markers today. I'm using Pear Pizzaz, Bermuda Bay, and Pineapple Punch. If you don't have the Stampin' Right markers, pick some markers of your own that you have. Some nice peacocky looking colors. And I have using the Memento Tuxedo Black, the Pretty Peacock, which is a new color, and Gorgeous Grape. I have a sponge dauber for the Pretty Peacock. I've got some sequins. I have my two glues, my two favorite glues out. The Tombow and the Art Glitter Designer Dries clear glue. And my little sentiment already on a block. I'm going to be using my brush. This is a makeup brush. I've talked about those before. You can find them on Amazon. They're pretty reasonably priced. If you have a hard time blending with the sponges, then this might be the answer to your prayers, this makeup brush. Looks like my cats have been playing with it. Okay, and I'll be using my Stamparatus. I have my peacock already on here. So let's do that. Let's stamp the peacock. Let's get some of our ink stuff out of the way first here. I just put my paper in there. And I'm going to be stamping the peacock with the Pretty Peacock. And I may have to do this a couple times because, as I said, this isn't the best quality of stamp. Certainly usable, and for the price, it's not bad. I forget exactly what I did pay for these. For the stamp and the die set. I would have to say probably under $15. So, like I said, for the price, it's not bad. Okay, so there we go. That's a nice deep impression there. So I can quit playing with this. I'm gonna just take this out. I don't want to get all this ink onto my pad here. Okay, so I can put that aside. And on this strip, I'll stamp my little greeting. I'm going to put it up kind of towards the corner. I'm taking a chance because this is from that stamp set. I hope, excuse me. That's not wonderful. Not at all. Okay, let me move on down here. Hopefully this one will come out better. The one I did on my other card came out pretty nice. Okay, that's not bad. That's acceptable. That one was just terrible. So, you get what you pay for. So, I'm going to trim this down right away. And let's see, I just leave myself a little room there. And we want that. We want to leave room so we can put our sequins on there. Put some sequins down this end, and I'll trim a little bit off the bottom too. I'm lining it up with the line because there's not enough edge here to hold it in place. I think I made this a little bit smaller than my other one, but that's okay. They don't all have to look the same, and yours doesn't have to look the same as mine either. Yours could be a little different too. So I will sponge this with my Pretty Peacock, and I will also get my piece that goes in the inside. While I'm sponging, I can sponge that. I'm just going to do the edges. Give it a little pop of color. It just makes it look more finished. And it doesn't look like you've just plopped a card on there, or a little thing on there. So, you know what, I'll do this off camera. I mean, you get the idea. You're just going to sponge around the edges. Just irregular sponging. And put that up there so I remember with that one. And let's do the peacock. Finish the peacock. And I added some yellow to right here on his face and the little feathers up here, that little plume there. And I also brought it down all into this area here. All these little U-shaped looking feathers. So we're going right down into all these other, I don't know, stringy look. They look like a mop to me. But, and all the little eyes on the feathers get some yellow. Some of them are really hidden in there good, so you have to really search them out. Okay, so there we go. Now, let me bring this yellow up here. Then with my old olive, I'm just going to go over this on the wing. And with my Bermuda Bay, and by the way, we're using this point on the pen. Oh, I should have done Bermuda Bay there. That's alright, he's good yellow. With the Bermuda Bay, I'm just going to come down here. I'm just going to do some random little flicks in here. Over the little feather things. Just to add a little bit more color down here. Brighten that up. And then once I'm done with this, I can cut this little peacock fellow out. And I'll put him aside, and I'll go over to Mr. Big Shot after we do our stenciling with our homemade stencil. Okay, so there he is. He's almost ready to go on the card. So now I have this. This is the paper that goes on the front. And on the back of my stencil, I put some repositionable tape. So I just stick this down like this. And we're going to have to do this in sections because the stencil is not nearly as big as our paper. I'll get some ink on my brush. And we just start adding ink to the paper. And you know, Gorgeous Grape is such a really deep color when you're stamping with it, but when you're blending with this brush, you see it's not that dark. So that gives you plenty of chance to build up color. You always start out a little bit light, because you can always add more, but once that color's down, it's down. There's not a thing you can do about it. Okay, so I think that's probably pretty good. I'm going to pick my stencil up. Move my paper down a little bit here. And then I have to line it up. Just like this. It's not that hard to do. Just cover the white parts. Okay. I got a little bit of a seam going there. I'm going to try to make that go away. Just by adding a little more color. Okay. So there we go. And you just continue doing that. And I will do that off camera. I'll do this. I'll cut out my ovals. to make my little frame for the front of the card. I'll cut out my peacock, finish sponging that, and I'll be right back. Go get yourself a cup of coffee or something. It's a good time to take a little break. Okay, so we're about ready to put our card together, but there's something I wanted to point out. First of all, we're going to pop up all of our images. So I used the very thin craft foam, and I used the peacock die to cut that out, and we could just put it behind here like this and kind of line it all up, and it pretty much doesn't show, but it does show in a couple pieces because the foam moves around. But anyway, I'll trim off a little bit of that, and then I used my largest oval die and the next to the largest. Now we used the largest and the third to the largest to cut this out. But I'll cut this into pieces, and I'll use that behind here. But now it's already oval shaped, so you see I can take nice large pieces like this and glue them down, and then cut another bit and another bit and so on, and I'll piece that around there. And then I have my little piece too from the foam for behind our little greeting for the front. So let me quickly trim this down. You see I'm cutting off, a good 1/8 of an inch, I guess, off of here. I'm doing this, I'm trying to do this very quickly. While I'm doing this, look at my peacock, and you see it's not perfectly cut out. That's why I was telling you it's very hard to use the die that came with this other set that I got. It's just not the quality. Just not the quality I'm used to. Okay, so I'm going to use my Designer's Dries Clear, and I'll attach this with that to the back of my peacock. And see, now we're not going to be able to see any of that foam sticking out around the edges. Do the same with this one. Line that all up. See, now this way, this can go through the mail because I have a full piece of foam there. If I used glue dots, or not glue dots, the foam dots, well, it might not be that wonderful. Let me cut some pieces here. And we have to, when we put this on here on the peacock, it's going to be about like this. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to hold that in place. I'm going to turn this over. And I'm just going to make marks on here, just so I know where I don't want foam dots, or don't want foam. So I'm just gonna put it on here. These little pieces are just get some glue. You get glue on them, and then they're really hard. It can be really hard to work with. I'm going to leave myself a little space there from my mark. I'm not going to put that right down on the mark. I'm going to leave a little bit more space just to be on the safe side. it should be just fine. And let's see. I'll just trim off some pieces on here. And a little bit here. Now if you like those foam strips that are already have the sticky on both sides, you could use those foam strips on here too. I find them to be very expensive. Those foam strips, not so much the little squares or the little foam dots. Okay, so we can put our card together now. And I don't know if you noticed, I've got a smudge there. Picked that up from somewhere. Maybe a cat stepped on it. I don't know where that came from. But I'm not worried at all about that, because that's going to be covered. So now I'm going to switch to my Tombow glue. And I think I'll put my inside sentiment in. Let's see. I didn't get my repositionable tape out. This is made by that Darice company. They make a lot of very affordable craft products. So I'll just kind of stick that in there. I'm not really even worrying if it's lined up or not, because that's not permanently attached. Okay, so now this will go on the front. And you notice I have a spot here that's really not colored that much. It's okay. It's going to be covered up. No one's going to see that. So, I'm using my Tombow because we need to have this aligned well. And the Tombow glue will give me a little bit of time to get that in place. You see, I can move this around. A lot of the other glues, especially this art glitter Dries clear, it tends to grab pretty quickly. Okay, so there we go. So I have that on the front. I'm going to get my little black strip. And let's see. I need a spot to work here. Put some Tombow right down there. And that will go right next to this paper. I'm going to butt that up right against it. And then you'll have a little bit of the white showing here. Let me check this. This sticks out a little bit at the top. So I'm just going to give that a little trim. Just like that. And now we can put these two pieces together. Oh, Tombow on that too. Now, I liked my flowers down at the bottom. Maybe you'd like them on the top. That's up to you. Let's see what that looks like. Like that. With our peacock. And our ring. I still like them on the bottom. So on the bottom it is. So that can go on. And I'm going to leave just about, I don't know, an eighth of an inch, or a half an inch, 5/8 of an inch. Just a nice little stripe down here of our pretty stenciled paper showing. Okay, that needs a little trim on the top too. I'm going to flip it over for a piece like that. I'll just trim that off right along my paper. Okay, now we'll put our sentiment on, or our greeting. Tombow again. And I want that down here on the bottom. I want that almost to the edge and up about ½ an inch here. So you are incredible. And now I'll put my peacock on. And I want that to I want his tail feathers, just this little bit here to overlap, just a tiny bit. And I want his head here centered side to side here. So that's got to go just about like that. And our oval, and we have our empty spot there to go around the peacock. Okay. Now I want this to be centered over this piece here. And I want the peacock framed nicely, so that looks pretty good to me. Right like that. And that's it. The card's finished. So if you've liked this video, then be sure to hit that. Oh, you know what? We didn't put our sequins on. Oh no. That's terrible. Let me need to grab my U-Pick tool, because this is a wonderful thing for picking up sequins. We need some sequins. We need a little bit of sparkle down by our greeting to offset all the sparkle in our ovals. It's very important to put the sequins on. I'm using my U-Pick tool. It's got a nice little sticky attachment on here. And I'll use my art glitter Dries clear glue, and I'll just put little dots of the glue where I want my sequins to go. And I can just pick that up very easily with my tool. Oop. And put it right down there. And our next sequin. There. And one more. We have our beautiful little sequins there that will draw attention to our greeting here a little bit. So that's it. Now we are really done with our card. So if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button down below. It's right down there over on that side. And there's a subscribe button over this side here. If you want to see more of my videos, be sure to hit that button. And then a little bell will come up. And if you click on that bell, YouTube will let you know when I post new videos. Then even further down is a whole section there. You can leave questions or comments. And as always, I'll list all of the tools and materials that I used today down below also. And if there are any Stampin' Up! Products you'd like to purchase, you can do that. And they would be wonderful if you used me as your demonstrator. And you can do that through either my Facebook page or my website. So y'all take care, stay safe, and happy stamping.